I've always focused in my collection on the origins of things, particularly first issues of magazines. I initially had a great curiosity about what things look like when they first started. So here's a shelf of magazines that I've bought over the years, of first issues of magazines that we all would recognize. So I thought I'd share a few with you. Probably one of the oldest is this one. This is was the fashion magazine early on, published by Harper's Incorporated. Harper's Bazaar. This is actually their second magazine. Harper's Monthly was their first in 1850. Harper's Weekly came on in 1857. And this one, of course, is still around. One of the oldest continuously published magazines in America. Another one, another fashion icon is Vogue. This is a very scarce cover. This was actually early on. It was 1892. This was a magazine of the elite New York society and evolved into the fashion magazine that we all know. Business Week is a very scarce first issue to find. Still being published. Pull out some more here. This is the flagship of the John Johnson Publishing empire, Ebony. They published other very important magazines. Negro Digest was the first, and that also included Jet, the digest-sized magazine for African Americans, which had an immense circulation. Johnson actually became the first African American billionaire based on his publishing empire. And this in 1945. This was a controversial cover with integrated photograph on the appearing. Esquire appeared during the early part of the Depression in 1933. You can see the National Recovery Act sticker on the top. Fabulous magazine with great appearances, very well produced. People in this magazine are Ernest Hemingway, Dashiell Hammett. Later on, they started publishing the work of Antonio Vargas, who had published earlier in magazines, but he became very famous publishing the Vargas Girls. 17 began as a movie magazine, but then changed the title to 17, and here's the first issue of that. Fruit Garden and Home, you wouldn't recognize as that title, but within a few years after this 1922 first issue, they changed their name to Better Homes and Gardens. This, of course, is the iconic Time magazine, the first of Britton Haddon and Henry Luce. By the way, there's 1 million reproductions of this magazine. If you want to know what the original is, this is an original. Look at the bottom. It says here, the Williams Printing Company, New York. If it doesn't have that, it's not original, and probably 99 out of 100 being offered as original or not. Same is the case for Newsweek, which has 1,000,001 reproductions. This is an original one. Always confused. The original can be told for two reasons. This was Newsweek, so there was 7 pictures, one for each day of the week. But the originals have captions on the bottom 2 pictures. But when they bound it up, they chopped off the bottom of the magazine. The reproduction was made without that. So originals have 7 captions. The non-originals only have 5. Also, they were very cheap about printing. Oh, I can't see the back here. In ink. The back of this magazine is purple ink, but they only used one color ink on the repro, so that's the two ways you could tell Newsweek. There are a lot of preliminary issues which are very scarce, called dummy issues. This is the first dummy where they were working out their motif. Here's another copy of the first issue. Here's the second dummy. No, actually, that's another copy of the. I have three copies of the first issue. Okay, this is the reproduction. And you can see here that this one is the two of them with the original underneath that they've chopped off the bottom two captions, and the back of this magazine, as I said, is orange, while the originals are purple. Essence is a very popular African American magazine still being published. Pretty scarce first issue. Here's some real rare birds. House Beautiful was a well-produced magazine for years. That's the first issue from 1896. I've only seen one copy in 30 years. Good Housekeeping is still being published, and this is around. Not an uncommon magazine. 1895. House and Garden, another very popular title. Oops. 1901. This is the famous first issue of Sports Illustrated. Take off the label here. Eddie Matthews on the cover. There were two prior incarnations of Sports Illustrated, one in 1936 and one in 1951 or 49, published by Dell, but this is the one that's stuck with Time Incorporated. Has a wonderful fold-out of baseball cards in the middle that people collect. Red Book is a very important magazine. Great fiction over the years. Great women's magazine. It passed away in the 90s. This is, pardon the glare. This is what Cosmopolitan looked like initially in New York, long before Helen Gurley Brown. Hard to find in this particular wrapper. Here's another one. Oh, that's number 2. National Lampoon is well appreciated humor magazine. There's the first issue. And as we talked about, here's Jet. That's Mrs. Ray Robinson, who was billed as the richest African American woman in America. Well, that's just some of them, but I think I'll get a taste of how wonderful this all is. Have a great day.